Hey Ryan, thanks for joining us today. Really appreciate you being here to talk about your experience with Explorance. Let's just start by introducing yourself to everybody, your role, what you do, and we'll go from there.
Sure thing. I'm a Director of Enterprise Learning at Thermo Fisher Scientific, mainly in their clinical research group. So Thermo Fisher Scientific, our mission is to enable our clients to make the world healthier, safer, and cleaner, really. And we're on the healthier and safer side of that in the clinical research group. That's really where I come from, but I don't have a clinical background. I started in this back in the technical industry. But what I do is I lead our strategic initiatives to make sure that they followed through and they deliver on their commitment and goals so that we can uplift the organization.
So how long have you been using Explorance, and what tools do you use in your ecosystem?
We're primarily using Metrics That Matter in our ecosystem. I've been a Metrics That Matter user since 2012. So I first used it at another organization, and then in 2014 implemented it where we're at now. So it's been a good stint, about 11 years in the latest implementation.
So what were some of the key challenges and pain points, I guess, for you where you are now that led you to Explorance?
I think the key challenges and pain points coming in, I was told coming into this role, was we have a lot of training. And it's a significant investment across the board, especially in the pharmaceutical industry. Mm-hmm. It's just a known issue.
Right.
And we need help managing it, understanding it, and finding out how we can accomplish the same educational and regulatory goals more efficiently.
So were you using any other tool before, or were you just using
They were using standard out-of-the-box survey tools like SurveyMonkey and more corporate tools. I forgot the name of the one that we had back then. But they were just your standard corporate managed survey tools that you would build a custom survey in and deliver it ad hoc.
So what is some of the standout things about Explorance that you really like the best?
I think there's a few key differentiators that sets Explorance apart from competitors. The one part is the scalability of the solution. I like to talk about my first time as a client. We had 170,000 learners. We measured over 4,000 learning sessions a quarter.
Wow.
And I was a team of one, and I did that with using Explorance. Now, fast forward all these years, I don't think you need to collect that much, but the ability that we were able to cover that scale so efficiently, I think is one differentiator. I think the other parts is the validation and how conscientious they are with their questions and making sure that they're valid. And then the benchmarking data set is really what sets them apart from everybody else. Other competitors have tried to go buy some data sets from IBM and things like that, but it still doesn't match what they have and how you can compare yourself to what a true might be in your industry.
Mm-hmm. You've been with Explorance in this role, about 11 years. What are some of the improvements or successes that you've seen over the years?
The improvements or successes with Explorance,
yeah.
Or what? Well, so I predate Explorance. I came in as an acquired client, right, from Gartner. But what I like that Explorance has done to the platform is brought it learning together with the other ways of collecting data, mm-hmm. right? I feel like sometimes learning evaluation is a bit of a silo. And I like that Explorance has brought this into their larger ecosystem of listening, because as things go forward, formal learning is going away, in the future, and things are getting less formal. And the more open, flowing style of listening and collecting in multiple data points is going to be the future of learning evaluation.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great fit with Explorance, and the way that they're looking at that roadmap aligns with what I want our strategy to be.
So can you tell us maybe a specific success story or two and how Explorance kind of helped you along with that?
Yeah, the success story I like to talk about a lot is coming into pharmaceuticals. They knew they were overtraining, right? When you look at, most pharmaceutical companies, the average, so if you look at training magazines indices or ATD data sets, the average for pharmaceuticals is anywhere from like 75 hours per learner per year to 100. It's very high. And so, we knew we had to get control of that a little bit. And the first thing I started doing when we implemented here is looking at all types of training, no matter what it was. Like the scale, we went as far as we could. And we started looking at relevancy and scrap. And we saw so much just over assigning of things to be conservative and risk averse, right? So we really worked closely with everybody involved to rein in, to measure, who this really applies to. They didn't know. So in error, they would just assign it to everybody.
Yeah.
So we used all of that data coming through Metrics That Matter to really narrow in on those profiles of assignment. And over the course of about 2 years, we eliminated over 400,000 hours of scrap learning from our books.
That's amazing.
And, you can do the math on that based on average labor costs, but it is significant. And that's one of the key success stories that I like around their method and methodology of collecting feedback.
So beyond a specific success story like that, how has Explorance helped your team meet goals and objectives over the years?
How they help us meet goals and objectives today, fast forwarding, we're very precise now. We don't measure every program anymore. We measure our most important programs. And, I believe that no matter how well your design and development and needs assessment are, that does not make a program succeed. What makes a program succeed is your ability to quickly respond to feedback as soon as you roll it out. And one of our flagship programs just recently, we caught some feedback and we found out that some people are going to this training that shouldn't be. Right? It was a miscommunication with the leaders of who was nominated to go for a training. And the old way of measuring, they attended and they said it was great. So you wouldn't have known.
Right.
The new way of measuring, they attended, said it was great, and said we're not going to use it. And that was a big red flag for us. So we were immediately able to solve that problem, in the first week of a program and recover, immediately. And that's what it's about. So that ability to collect data throughout the implementation of a program and immediately respond to that feedback in a rapid way is, I think, the importance of the Explorance products and the true value that brings us.
So it really drives your effectiveness and therefore your credibility.
Absolutely. It's not about after the fact.
Right.
And when we get to the end and we're doing a big brief to our stakeholders, everybody knows the answers by then, right? And it's always where we said it would be because we listened and made adjustments
you adjust
along the way. Yeah.
So looking ahead, what's next for you and your learning measurement program and your use of MTM?
I think what we're looking at is we're facing the same challenges that everybody is, with formal learning kind of going away and learning being a journey, a personalized journey. We're going to see with the spread of general AI type tools that are going to personalize learning paths for people. Everyone's going to have different learning elements in those personalized learning paths. Learning's more of a journey, and we need to meet people along the way, and we need to measure it along the way. So I think that's our future. What we're looking for is how do we measure along the way. Today Explorance talked about AI sensors to help navigate that journey. But I think that's what we're looking forward to, is how do we when and how do we measure when we don't really have the event or know when it happens?
Right.
You know, like say I've got somebody using an online tool and we're using application, a performance support application that overlays, and they run into a problem and they click for help and it shows them how to do it. We had no way to predict when they're going to do that. And,
Right.
you know, if you then go ask them a day later,
Yeah,
they've
don't
forgotten.
remember, yeah.
So we need to capture that in the moment. And those are the challenges I think we're facing over the next few years. And I'm looking to Explorance to help us along that journey.
Great. If you were advising a peer who was considering Explorance, what would you tell them?
This happens a lot, and it really depends where they're at in their measurement maturity. But most often what I find is people are at the beginning of that journey, and they're looking for help to figuring out how they need to scale. And my best advice is to listen to the prescriptions that Explorance is giving you. Trust them, right? That's what I did. I've done it twice. I've done 2 implementations in 2 different organizations, and all those steps are very important, and you will not realize how valuable they are until you get 3 to 5, 10 years down the road. You're going to look back and understand the importance of those. So that is my advice, is to listen to their team. It's not about a tool. It's a set of services, solution, and technology that all has to go together.
Just a couple more things. Any lessons learned that you've learned over the years you'd like to share about use of feedback? And I'm sure there are many, actually.
My biggest lesson learned is to speak the language of the business. You know, there's a lot of language within this world of learning measurement that it speaks to our hearts, like scrap learning, but that doesn't speak to the business.
Right.
So, you know, try not to stay trapped inside your reports and your learning measures, and start with connecting with the business and understanding their goals and their objectives. And I see that overlooked so many times. Yeah. And that's my number one advice and lessons learned through my journey of doing this for, 14 years now, is to partner very closely with the business, go as high as you can, and understand what are your goals, what are your priorities, how do you think learning can help, and who's running that project, and
right.
Go talk to them. And my second one that I always tell people is make sure the business understands their commitment, and if they're unwilling to commit, SMEs, data, time with their managers, all those things you need for program success and measurement success, don't do it. Tell them to call you back when they're ready. We're going to put in a whole lot of resources as learning leaders. Right. They need to put in their part. And if we don't both put in our part, it's going to fail and we're all going to lose. Yeah.
Agreed. Good advice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Ryan. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for the questions.